Subtle skills, big results.
Welcome to the Ninja Selling Podcast.
Hey everyone, it's your good friend Eric Thompson. This is the Ninja Selling Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. We greatly appreciate it. This is being recorded in February. February is a month that's all about love. We love that you're listening and engaged with this podcast. I think you're going to love our guest. I'm really excited, everyone, to introduce you to our guest. She is an amazing ninja. You're going to hear her story. It's Amy Balewicz. Amy, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here.
It is our pleasure to have you here. Looking forward to this conversation, looking forward to lots and lots of takeaways that I know will come out of our conversation. Amy, why don't we start with this? Let everyone know where you live, the market that you serve, and also the company that you're with.
Yeah, sure. So I live Metro West Boston, Massachusetts, and I am with Keller Williams, Boston Northwest. The brokerage is in a small historic town called Concord, Massachusetts. So some people, the history buffs may have heard of it. It's the Revolutionary War.
Right. Yeah. When you said Concord, my brain went back to, junior high, middle school, high school. And I was thinking, I've heard of that place before. So
yeah,
of course,
lots of history.
Lots of history. Area. People have either been there or they know of it. It's fantastic. Amy, also, you're a ninja coaching client. Thank you for that. You work with Shelley Culbertson, and the two of you have been working together for 2.5 years.
Yes, we have.
Yes. Fantastic. Okay, so let's tell everyone right up front. This is the title of this podcast. Actually, I'm going to give you two titles. It's kind of a title and then a subtitle. The title is called How to Make $1 Million in Real Estate When You've Never Done It Before. That's kind of an attractive, exciting title, I think. And then the subtitle, I think this will also get people's attention, Amy. This is How to Increase Your Business 43% year over year without increasing your workload by 43%. And I just want to check in with you, Amy, on that. Is that a fair comment? Is that fair to say that you did not increase your workload by 43%?
No. And in fact, I actually decreased my workload.
What? Okay. Amazing. I can just hear everyone listening saying to themselves, what are you talking about? How can that be? We are going to get into that. We're going to teach you, we're going to show you, you're going to hear how Amy was able to do that, how she was able to earn $1 million last year in 2024, how she was able to increase her business by 43% without increasing her work. Really what you're going to hear about today, you guys, is leverage, right? So regardless of what your goal is, what your income goal is, or your time commitment goal, what I think is relevant to everyone is how to leverage yourself, how to leverage your time, leverage your energy to get even better results, create the kind of lifestyle that you want. So first thing I'll say to you, Amy, congratulations on that achievement, on hitting that number. It's especially exciting, and even bigger congratulations are because of the fact that was a very specific goal for you, right? I mean, you started 2024 with a goal to make $1 million in 2024. So tell us more about that. Tell us more about the goal that you set and when and where you set that and your process on that.
Yeah. So I had attended the Ninja installation. It was the second one. I was in January in Las Vegas, or it actually was Fort Collins. I don't remember, but one of the two places. And we got to the portion of the class where you did your financials and set your goal. So I did do that. And, you put down all the things that you wanted to spend that year. And I've got 4 kids, one going to college. So I had a pretty hefty goal that seemed a bit daunting, but it also, I just put the mindset around it that it was doable. And it was my affirmation that I was going to do that. And if you've attended an installation, you write that 25 times for 30 days. Well, I kept writing it, maybe not 25 times the whole year, but that was my affirmation. It was on the top of my weekly planner every day. It was what I wanted to achieve. And it was just sort of interesting because I kind of kept going to it and then tracking where I was. And, as we kind of got closer, I was like, wow, I really am going to hit this. And with Shelley kind of being my cheerleader, she's like, oh my gosh, we only need, 2 more in this month and you're going to get it. So she was really encouraging me to meet that goal also. And we did.
Yeah, you told me that she was right there with you every step of the way, just being so excited, so encouraging.
Yeah,
That really became her goal as well. And
it did.
this is a great story because this is a classic, this is a textbook ninja story. There you were in January at an installation. You go through the goal setting exercise. You have your gold sheet. You put on there $1 million in a year. You start the affirmations. What do you mind sharing the exact affirmation? Do you mind sharing the exact wording of your affirmation?
Yeah, I think it was I am committed to doing the activities necessary to reach GCI goal of $1 million by December 31st of 2024.
Amazing. And what I really like about that is the fact that you focused on the activities, right? So we say frequently in coaching, we can control the activities, we can't always control the results. So you put a lot of focus in that affirmation on the activities. I enjoy doing the activities that leads me to this goal of earning $1 million. So if people often wonder, Amy, do affirmations work? Well, guess what? They work for you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I'm a firm believer.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And we have the proof to show it. Up before 2024, you told me that your best year before then was around 700,000.
Yeah.
Is that right? And
Yeah.
gosh, that's remarkable. That's something to celebrate. And
Yeah, no, I was happy with that, but I
yeah,
just decided to go big.
yeah. What was it that made you want to go big?
I felt that I could do it. I felt that with, the first year that I did the ninja, sort of implemented the ninja systems, it was more just kind of learning them and implementing them. And I felt, sort of the second year I could really dive in and be more intentional about them, that I could do it.
Got it. So the progress you had made initially being a ninja gave you a lot of momentum and it really unlocked for you a lot of possibility. Then you saw there you were in your second installation. If I have that right, you saw, gosh, I could take this to an even higher level, and you did it. And it
Yeah.
obviously begs the question, and we're going to get into this now. So how did you do it? People are wondering, so how did she do it? So tell us, Amy, how did you do it? And we'll get into details here, but
Yeah.
like, what are
And
the
so I
things you
guess,
got in place?
yeah, part of the reason I thought I could do it is that, so the installation was in January of 2024. In November of 2023, I hired my very first buyer's agent. And so, I kind of knew I had another person on board on my team that could help me. And then a couple weeks later, I hired another buyer's agent, and it just sort of, it just kind of fell in my lap, and it was something I couldn't refuse. It was a friend that I had known for a very long time, and I knew she would be an excellent addition to the team. So within a month, I brought on two buyers agents. So when I was making these lofty goals, I knew it wasn't going to just be me working myself to death. I had now two other people on my team that were going to help me as well as support staff.
Right. That's such a big deal. Like, it's to achieve something really big. Oftentimes it's going to be hard for us to do it all by ourselves. And so you were smart enough to bring people onto your team to leverage yourself. Again, that's definitely a theme about today is leveraging. And that allowed you to see even bigger possibility for yourself, knowing that you had these people on the team. That first buyer's agent that you brought on, was that someone brand new to you and your team, or was that someone you were already working with in some capacity?
Yeah,
Tell
no,
us about
it
that.
was somebody I had known for years. My son and her son were the same age and had been playing sports together. So I knew her for a long time, and her father had been a builder. So she'd been in the real estate world longer than me, 20 some years, but never as a licensed agent. So she had recently decided to go and get her real estate license so that she could, be a real estate agent rather than just being like property management and helping with new construction. And so she approached me because we knew each other well, and she liked, we were very similar in our values. And she said, I want to be on a team, but I want to be on your team. And I said, well, I want you on my team. So let's do that.
Let's do this. Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. So why a buyer's agent? It seems like there could have been, you probably had lots of choices on how you could have someone come onto your team and help you in lots of different ways. So
Yeah.
what made you decide to put her in that buyer's agent role?
Well, I mean, I think when you first start, for the majority of us, we'll take buyers, sellers, we'll take any business we can. But after, I've been in it for 5, 6 years, I don't know if I already said it, but I do have 4 children, and my time and being able to spend some time with them is important. And so working with sellers, I have more control over my time. It's typically, during the week, maybe an open house on the weekend, but you're not at the whim of a buyer calling you and needing to see a home, especially during the COVID years where you had to get to see that home, or it might be under agreement. So I was sort of running myself ragged, showing buyers homes and listing homes. So I decided to lean into the list side to control my schedule a little bit more, and bring on a buyer's agent to connect with buyers. But my model is they can also list homes. And so Kelly has listed 2 homes now, and sort of we've been co-list, so that she has me as the experienced agent, but she's also getting experience with that as well, because my goal is to keep my team together and not have them, once they get experience, go elsewhere because they want to be able to work with buyers and sellers. So for me, it was important that they be able to do both, and so that they love the job and want to stay.
Right. So you felt like if you put that restriction on her, that to say, hey, you cannot have your own listings, that would have eventually caused a scenario where she would want to depart the team and go off on her own. So that she could do that, you were smart enough to allow that from day one. And so bottom line, you saw the best return on your time was going to be to allow her to work with buyers because of all the time demands that the buyers have on us. And so
Yeah.
how do you get those buyer clients introduced to her? I'm guessing the vast majority of these buyers are people who already have a relationship with you, and they
Yeah.
might come to you like expecting to work with you. And now you are getting them introduced to Kelly, your buyer's agent. How do you do that? How do you make that transition smooth for the client
Yeah.
so they still feel taken care of by you?
Right. That's a really good question, because it was definitely something I struggled with, how to, if they came to an open house, that was easy. She was there, she met them, it was her, she converted them herself. But the people that were in my world already, reaching out to me directly, it was, yeah, how do I do this? So what we ended up doing is, I had the initial conversation with them, phone call, or if it was a friend, out at the soccer game or something. And then I would let them know that I had a team, and that I had an agent that solely worked with buyers that could help. So we were going to kind of do this together. And I said, where I want to have a buyer consultation with you in person at my office. And I would have Kelly come to that, so that, I was there, but she was there, and it was presented that, I'm here if you need anything, if Kelly's not available, I'll show a house, and vice versa, but she'll be your primary source of contact, and we'll be writing the offer. You have this fear of, oh my God, they're not going to want to work with us if they're not working. But I never experienced that. Once they just wanted the level of service that we were going to provide, and the comfort of knowing me. And now I'm bringing on this other person. If I'm comfortable with her working with them, then they were comfortable with that. So it was actually a much easier transition. In my head, it didn't seem like it was going to be, but in actuality, it worked just fine. And I rarely was involved after that initial meeting, because Kelly just sort of took over, and they they developed the relationship, and it worked out great.
So they trusted the process, these clients, and they trusted the process because you laid out a process for them.
Yeah.
And you really use that buyer consultation meeting as the time to introduce to them and clarify to them how this is going to work. They felt your involvement and felt your support, felt your service there during the buyer consultation. So it's not like at the soccer game, you would immediately dish them off to someone else. No, you were involved right at the beginning, and then you clarified how Kelly was going to be involved. And because, she sounds amazing, because she's amazing, gave that buyer a lot of confidence, and then away they went. And it sounds like it's working even better than you thought.
Yeah, it is. I think that's a big hurdle for people. Is how do you let that go? How do you make that transition when you're their person that they know. But like I said, if they trust you and the process, they really don't. It really doesn't matter if it's you or one of your teammates, as long as you're all providing the same level of service and following the same systems.
Absolutely. And I'm guessing that you found opportunities during the process, during their purchase process, for you to reach out, connect, communicate, so that they still felt your involvement. But for the most part, your buyer's agent was really running with it.
Yeah, I would reach out, say, if they had an accepted offer, give them a phone call and say, oh my gosh, I heard, about the house. So I was definitely a presence and checking in on them. But Kelly did the majority of the work.
Fantastic. Great. Who else is on your team? Well, you did mention the other buyer's agent, but are there other people that are involved here that are helping you to leverage your time?
Yeah. So about 3 years into the business, I was doing everything, working with clients, doing the paperwork, everybody kind of knows how that goes. And I needed help. So I hired Jenny, and she was sort of just the catch-all assistant. So she helped with some marketing. She helped with transaction coordination, with contracts and communicating with attorneys and lenders. And I had her for a year kind of doing everything. But there were some things that she was better at than others. And I was sort of at this point where I was like, but the things that she wasn't as strong in, I really needed somebody that was. And so I was in this dilemma of, do I look for somebody else to replace her? But yet she's really good at the marketing piece, like really good at the marketing. And I said, you know what, I'm going to just see if she wants to just transition her role into what she really is strong at. And she was like, yes, absolutely. I hate all the paperwork stuff. Like, I'm not a detail oriented person. I'm much more of a creative marketing person. So we put her in the marketing role, and I hired a transaction coordinator, Tara, who was a paralegal. She was doing property management. So she was perfect for that role. So instead of getting rid of Jenny and hiring just somebody brand new to do transaction coordination, I now have a part-time marketing person and a part-time transaction coordinator. And that's been probably 4 years now that we've been operating under that, and it's been working great.
Amazing. So you're getting these other people on your team in a position where they're doing things that they're naturally really, really good at, that they really, really enjoy, things that were not the best use of your time, right? When you look at your dollar per hour and what you're worth. And so having them in place now, what has that allowed you to do even more of? And you might even talk about it's allowed me more personal time and more time off, but what them doing these tasks and taking on those things, which now frees up your time. How is that new found time for you being used?
Yeah. Oh, it's been huge. I mean, that's, a huge portion of how I was able to meet my goal, because on the business side, it allowed me to do, more of the traditional lead generation, or, talking to people and either in person or on the phone, and those types of things. Unfortunately, they shouldn't, but sometimes they do when you're busy and you've got this transaction, you have these deadlines that sometimes that other stuff gets pushed to the side because you have immediate things that you have to do. But if you have other people taking care of them, then you can focus more on generating the business. So that's what I did. And on a personal level, I wasn't having to work, nights catching up on paperwork and things like that, or the buyer's agent showing homes on every weekend. So I had much more time to focus on the family, because I had been sort of neglecting that part of my life for a few years when I was, busy with work and also having to do the marketing and the transaction coordination and all that. So yeah, it was definitely the right thing to do.
Amazing. It's a whole new world for you. And one thing I want to both applaud and celebrate, and at the same time use it as a teaching point for everyone listening, is that really what this takes, if you think about what Amy did and the fact that she brought these other people onto the team, it takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of trust, a lot of faith, a lot of belief. And because ultimately, isn't it, Amy, it's so much about letting go. which is so hard because you built up this incredible, very highly productive business. Your clients are getting great service from you. You got it to a great place, but to get it to the whole new level, you had to let go of it, which is kind of counterintuitive. It's like you instinctually maybe want to hang on to it and even tighter, right? But you were able to let go and let some pieces go, let other people do those, empower them. And that's what took it to the new level. So what was that like for you to let go like that?
Yeah. So, I mean, yes, that's always scary for somebody building a team is the letting go part. I would say for me, it was hiring the right people. So if, transaction coordination wasn't my strong suit, marketing it's very time consuming. I love it, but having somebody that just solely focuses on that and are very good at it, that's their strength. It's not my strength. So if you feel confident in the people you hire, it's easy to just let them do their job, and then I focus on what I do best, and that's building relationships with people, going to networking events, servicing sellers. So if you kind of look at it that way, where you can't do everything exceptionally, but you have other people you can bring on board that do those things that you may not be your strengths. And it's so great to have a team that's all supporting each other. We all have similar values. That was important to me when hiring is are they aligned with our values? And it does always amaze me when you've got a group of people that, I'm the team lead, but we all celebrate things together or sometimes commiserate together. And to have people, we've been on together for over 4 years that all just genuinely love each other and are just wanting the success of the team. It's so great. It's hard to be solo. It's lonely.
Right. It's really, really hard. And so they love the team. They love what they do. They love what they do because they're doing things that they love to do. And you talked a lot about that, about these team members now that you have, is that they're doing things that they love to do, things that you don't love to do. What goes always hand in hand with that, and this is a takeaway for everyone listening, what goes hand in hand is typically those things that you don't love to do are also not the best use of your time or not your highest dollar per hour activities. What's high dollar per hour for you, Amy, is being in flow with people. So let's talk about flow. I think this is a good opportunity to transition over to flow. I know it's something that you and Shelley have worked on together to really refine and hone in and make great. Let's start with auto flow. So what do you do for auto flow? What are your auto flow items that go out on a regular basis?
Yeah. And again, I couldn't do this without Jenny in marketing, but we do twice a month, we do a email newsletter out to, our entire database. The first of the month is always local events. So, at the bottom, it does have our picture and our logo, but it's more just about what's happening in the community. So that's more of the art that we're involved in the community. And it's kind of evolved to where someone having an event, whether like the Lions Club or a local organization, they'll reach out to me directly and say, we've got this event coming up. Can you add it to your next newsletter? So that's really great. So you're kind of known as that community connector. And then the 15th of the month, we always do more of a market stats email, local marketing, as well as any listings that we've recently sold or have under agreement. So that's more of the proof of production kind of piece.
Got it. And this is a classic example of art and science, right? Mm-hmm. Those of you who have been through the installation, the Ninja installation, you learned about that in your marketing. You want to mix art with science. You, Amy, happen to break it into 2 separate newsletters, 2 email newsletters that go out each month. I'm guessing, Amy, there are a lot of people that heard that. Wait, 2 email newsletters in a month. Do people not like that? Do people unsubscribe? Or do people say that they're getting spammed? It's like I can listen inside the head of the people listening to the podcast. So is that true? Does that happen? Do you get negative feedback? Do you get people that are not opening the emails? Like, tell us how they respond to the fact that they're getting 2 email newsletters from you a month.
No, I've had nothing but positive, especially the events newsletter. I mean, people, it's kind of, I've been doing it now for probably 5 years. And so, I mean, I can't tell you the number of times people say, oh my gosh, I loved that email you sent out about events. Like I went to this event and they start telling me about their day going to that event. So it's been a really great way to provide value to people. And then just, by the back door, they associate you with real estate because it is coming from our real estate, email address. But it's more about how can we bring value to people? Because I am I don't want to like seem too salesy. So then the 15th of the month, the market, it's again, it's more about local stats and people are really interested in that. And then, what houses have sold. So it's pretty pictures of houses and what they sold for. So again, it's not about how great we are. It's how busy, we are active in the market, which, gives you that credibility, but it's also information that people are interested in. So we are very, very purposeful of always putting stuff out that's of value, not just like a look what we did kind of thing.
Absolutely. So bottom line, it's not spam because it's valuable. So it's valuable in that it's interesting community information. It's valuable in that it's interesting real estate information, and you're never bragging. You're never putting the spotlight on you. You're putting the spotlight onto other people. Okay. So when it comes to flow, Amy, I asked you when we were preparing for this, I asked you, okay, so what's the one thing? Like if there was one thing that you would absolutely keep doing, if there's one thing you said, no, you cannot take that away from me, because that absolutely drives my business. Amy, what's your one thing?
So my one thing, I have a goal every day, and that is my affirmation of 2025 that I've been writing the 30 days, 25 times or whatever is the affirmation is I am committed to have 10 conversations daily to create meaningful relationships and reach my new goal, which is 1.2 million in GCI.
Amazing. So bottom line, your one thing is actually 10 things. It's 10 conversations a day. 10
and
live, meaningful,
yeah.
not even live, not even live, but meaningful. So how do you define meaningful? What does that mean to you?
Well, it's kind of what we focus on in Ninja is the whole forwarding is actually talking to them about, a recent vacation they went on or their children or, getting information from them that shows you care, not just hi, how are you? Quick kind of conversation. And you really do need to be purposeful when you're doing that, because it is easy to just have these sort of surface conversations with people. But when you really intentionally try to make the conversation relationship based, it just goes to a whole different level. And you find out more different things about people, which I then record for the next time I talk to them. I can say, oh yeah, how was that trip to Egypt or, your kids' tournament or whatever it might be. So it was something that I am very involved in the community. With again, the 4 children, I do know a lot of people. So a lot of my interactions might be at the post office, just running into somebody there or at the local coffee shop. So it sounds 10 conversations a day seems like a lot, but it's actually it's not that hard to do if you're just out and about in the community.
Yeah, I was going to ask you how many days a week do you get to the 10 or in how many weeks so far this year have you achieved that 10 per day? How's it going for you?
Pretty much every day I at least 10.
Amazing.
Yeah. And well, I mean, in that it counts, like I have networking groups. So I started a local business women's networking group that we meet once a month. So, there's at least 10 to 15 people that come to that. So, that one morning I've already had 15 meaningful conversations because we've been doing this for long enough that we get really sort of personal. And so you've created these really great relationships with these women or, another networking group I'm in or, getting dinner with 5 of my best friends. I mean, that all counts. I think sometimes people don't consider those things lead generation because you don't want to consider like meeting with your friends as like building business, but it is, and that counts. So if you really look at all the things you do every day, it really, for me, isn't hard to do.
Yeah. And the fact that you are achieving this goal of 10 a day, what's coming up for me, it all starts with how you start your day with intention. That's your affirmation to have those 10 meaningful connections per day. So you start the day with that intent, and what you focus on expands, and it's happening for you.
Yeah.
Bravo. Okay. A couple other things. One, as I was preparing for this podcast, I reached out to your coach, Shelley Culbertson, and just to ask her, so what are the things I should focus on in this podcast? And Shelley said, oh, make sure you talk to her about sellers and her seller process and how she works with brand new sellers and potential sellers. And so then when I brought this up to you, Amy, when you and I were planning this podcast, and I said that to you, your response was, well, I don't know if I do anything special, really. I just follow the process. So tell us how you work with a new seller. Tell us about that process.
Okay, I'll take you through what we do. So get that initial phone call, or if it's, a friend that you're meeting at, the soccer field or something, I always have the phone call. So that pre-listing interview that we talk about in the installation, and that's super important. So I always, whether it's a friend or just somebody giving me a phone call, I say, I just need 10 minutes of your time to go over some questions before we get together at your home. So we go through that. One of my favorite questions on that is, at what price would you want to list your home for, or however it goes? And I always love to ask that, because sometimes they'll say, well, we're not sure. Well, that's, something we want you to tell us. But a lot of times they'll give you a number that they're thinking. And so you can kind of get an idea before you just walk into their house, because it's sometimes nerve-wracking when you're, coming in with a range of value if you have no idea what's in their head. So you get an idea of, okay, are they being realistic? Are they not? How much education do I need to give them about the market if they're kind of way off base? So that's, the kind of one takeaway from that. So then make an appointment to go visit their home. Prior to me showing up at their home, I drop off a pre-listing packet that has our listing brochure, pretty thing that we have professionally printed. I have all the contracts that they'll need to sign. And that's pretty much the most of it. We have some branded cookies with our logo on them that goes in there, but it's pretty simple, not too much information to overwhelm them. But when I come, it's in a nice professional box. Usually they've eaten the cookies and they said how great they were, or the cookies are still in the box, but they usually have it sitting on their counter to show that they've received it. And so when I first get there, we do the tour of the house, building that rapport. Really, I'll take some notes, but it's really just more for me to hear what they have to say about their house, and for us to, start that relationship building in that way. And then eventually we bring it to the kitchen table. We go through the packet. Sometimes if they haven't seen it, we kind of go through the brochure page by page, but not enough to like bore them, but just kind of overview. But a lot of times they've already seen it and we don't even have to talk about it. So we kind of just then talk about the process of listing, staging, what I do for marketing, kind of briefly touch base on a price range, but I let them know that we'll really have a more in-depth conversation about that one, about the week that we list. And I found that pricing doesn't usually become like the issue. Commission doesn't usually become the issue, because we've sort of done enough leading up to that point where they've built some trust. And now we've got this rapport that we've created. So a lot of times it's just kind of, okay, this is the process. What's your time frame? This is the listing paperwork. A lot of times they'll sign right there, or I'll send it to them electronically and say, take a look at it. If you have any questions, let me know. But we don't make that a big focus of the meeting. It's more, what are your goals? What is your house? What's your time frame? And this is my commission. This is the paperwork.
How often do you get pushback on your fee?
Not that often. I mean, I think that the new, sort of these new, if you call them new rules, you kind of took the buyer commission out of the equation a bit. It's like, it would behoove us to offer something if it's written into an offer, but it's more like what my fee as a listing agent and what that includes. So it's kind of, it's made that conversation actually easier as a listing agent in my experience, because
Yeah.
it focuses more on what I'm going to do and what they're paying for those services. And I think a lot of people understand that piece. And then when we mention the buyer's agent will likely want to get paid, but they'll like write that into the offer,
Yeah.
what their commission is. It seems to have helped a bit with that conversation.
Great. You told me the percentage of time that you have a meeting like this with a potential seller, and then that turns into you actually working with that seller, turns into a listing agreement. And that percentage is what is your win rate?
Yeah, I would say it's about 95%.
95%. So
Yeah.
you know what? All you're doing is you're just following the process. And that's what you told me when we were game planning. You said, Eric, I just follow the process. But a big takeaway, and it was subtle when she said it, everyone noticed, she said, even when it's a friend. And so often we see other realtors out there, when it's a friend or even a family member, they shortcut, they skip the process, and that never goes well for anyone.
Yeah, well, you
Right?
have to remember that even though they're your friend, they're also selling their home. It's a huge asset for them. So they are still looking for that professionalism. You can be a little more relaxed with them, but you still need to show them that you know what you're doing and that you have a process, and don't deviate from that just because it's a friend. Because it's important to them. Their home is a huge asset. So it's just as important to treat them that way as it would be.
Absolutely. So the moral of the story is follow the process.
Yeah.
So Amy, we said that you work with Ninja coach Shelley Culbertson. You worked with her for 2.5 years. What made you want to hire a coach?
Yeah. So I went to my first installation 2.5 years ago, and I already was working with a coach from my brokerage, and that was going well, but I really resonated with the Ninja systems. So, I'm kind of one that just, goes all in on something. So I was like, if I'm going to really, follow these systems, I think it would be really helpful for me to have a coach that also can help me. You go to the installation, there's a lot thrown at you. So I needed somebody that was going to sort of break them down and really teach me each system so that I could implement it effectively. So that was my thought process, is work with a coach that knows the system that I now want to follow.
Yeah. You wanted to increase your odds?
Yeah.
Of getting results. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so what have been some of the bigger takeaways from you from coaching with Shelley?
She's fantastic. Like I said, I mean, she's a huge cheerleader, which is super helpful to have, yet somebody else other than your team members that's out there, wanting you to succeed. But also, yeah, I think we kind of what I just alluded to, that there's, the systems are pretty simple, but yet they're not. So especially real estate reviews, they've always sort of been a roadblock for me. And it's, she kind of, every time we kind of talk about it, just do one a week, or just you mail it. You don't have to do the in-person if that's scary to you. And so kind of understanding maybe what of my weaknesses or some of my weaknesses are, and helping to sort of break it down to a way that it can be manageable, and always accountability. We always sit and talk about what what your goals are, what you've got in the pipeline. Do you have what you need to get there? If you don't, what are you going to do to get there? So, and the weekly check-ins, sending in your numbers or sending in the activities you've done. Sometimes you hang your head because you didn't do something that you should have done that week, but yet this week I'm going to do it because I don't want to have to write that in my report again. So the accountability piece is huge.
Yeah. Yeah, terrific. Just helping you to stay organized. I'm guessing she was a big help in helping you to think through the adding these members to the team and different things that they would do to again help leverage your time.
Yeah, and now that you have a team, I mean, I'm sure I speak for a lot of people listening, that you get into real estate, but you don't think of it as, now I've got to be a leader. I have to, have this team and figure out how to lead people. And so, it's just a whole nother thing you gotta do. And as a team lead and do it, to me, it's important to do it well so that your team knows what's going on, that they feel accountable for what they need to do. So she's really helped me to do that, because I didn't know what I was doing.
Terrific. I love hearing that. I love it. Amy, so many takeaways. If someone wants your kind of results, it really comes down to a couple of things. It comes down to leverage, Leverage your time and energy, which means you need to get people onto your team that are aligned with you, get them in a position to succeed because they're doing things they love to do that are not the best use of your time. The key to getting there is letting go, being okay with someone else doing that. Another key is flow. I mean, it just ultimately this is coming down to you have 10 live conversations a day. I mean, that's what drives your business. And Amy, it's so clear that you are committed to this profession, to your craft, so committed to your clients, taking great care of them, so committed to your team. I love hearing about how enthusiastic you get about your team and how they're growing, how they're succeeding, how they're working together as a team. We are just so grateful that you joined us here today to share all of this.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I appreciate you having me, and I hope it was helpful.
It was super helpful. Super helpful. Okay, everyone. So I'm Eric Thompson, your host of this podcast. I'm president of Ninja Coaching. You've been getting takeaways from Amy Balewicz. If you want to look her up so that you can send her a thank you note, right? You're going to do that because she shared so many takeaways. Amy, your last name is spelled Balewicz. She's in Concord, Mass. Amy Balewicz with Keller Williams. And Amy, again, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Of course. And thank you, everyone, for listening. We appreciate all of you. We wish all of you terrific success. We look forward to seeing you on the next podcast. Take care.